On the Cultivating Calmness podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about how our mind affects our body, but also how we kind of see those things in nature and how we pay attention to them and what does that mean? And going to kind of connect some of those different things while we chat today. So join me today while we dive a little deeper into this topic. So I'm actually in the middle of a Bible study, reading a book on, I think it's called Victorious Emotions. And a lot of it is very therapy related. So whether you read the Bible or believe in Christianity or not, the information in the book, although Bible-based, is has a lot of factual information just about the way our thoughts feed into the way we feel. And when we think negatively, we feel negatively. That's kind of the basis of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's the CBT triangle. And this is like basic education I give to all of our pretty much any client we see, especially when I worked with kids. It would be handouts and flyers, and I don't do so much of that anymore. But really, our thoughts affect our feelings, affect our behaviors, and any combination thereof within the triangle. And those things are true. And when we tell ourselves negative things, when we believe negative things about ourselves, those are those core negative beliefs. And we all have them. And some of them are more prominent than others. Some of us have lots of them, and some of us maybe just have, a couple, and they're, maybe really strong, or they're there, but you've worked through some of it, right? And I see that with my therapy clients, where we work through some of those core beliefs, and we pick at them, and until they start to believe, the opposite things to be true. Now, there's work to be done with that. Another, side of that, another area of thought is that you can change the way you think and the way you feel. And it starts by believing more of those positive things, by noticing those positive things going on in your life. And that doesn't have to be big things. If you're saying I'm a failure and I'm stupid and I can't accomplish anything, it'd be noticing all the things you did accomplish, even though you may consider them to be minor. In that book that I'm currently reading with my Bible study, it talked about did I get up today? Did I walk correctly today? Did I read something? Did I write something? Did I cook something? All of those things were you accomplishing tasks that, at one point in time you were not able to do, and now you are. So you can walk around saying I'm a failure and I can't accomplish anything and I'll never do anything. But the reality is you have all day long accomplished things, whether you recognize it or not. And that's the idea kind of behind the gratitude journaling and recognizing things you're grateful for, and just recognizing positives throughout the day. It could be somebody opened the door for me, somebody said hi and looked me in the eye, somebody smiled at me. I walked in and out of a store without tripping over myself, like things that maybe you do on a regular basis that are embarrassing and you didn't do that thing. Or, maybe you handled a situation better than you thought you would. Maybe you had a better conversation, or you just had a good conversation with somebody. Maybe somebody called out of the blue to talk to you. You saw a picture you liked, the sun was shining, all kinds of positive things you can find throughout your day that are not the negative things that are driving your thoughts. And I say, where do we see this in nature? Well, the reason I said that was because there have been studies and experiments, which I haven't personally done, but maybe my therapy office is an example of that. Aside from having to actually take care of the plants, they say when you talk positively to plants, they thrive. But if you talk negatively to plants, they die. And so again, I've never personally done that, but there have been classrooms and experiments that have done this, where they put two plants in the same, under the same circumstances, and to one they only say bad stuff, and to one they only say good stuff. And the plant that they say good things to thrives, and the plant they say bad stuff to ends up dying or wilting or not doing well. And you have to ask yourself, why does that happen? Are we giving life to life? Are we giving ourselves life when we speak poorly to ourselves, when we believe negative things about ourselves, and we're not speaking life into ourselves. Are we speaking life into the people around us? Or are we being constantly negative? Are you somebody people want to be around? Are you like assuming the negative about people, or are you always assuming? Are you assuming the positive about people, or are you always assuming the negative about people? And that's not to say that people aren't negative. It's not to say that, you don't get bad vibes or juju about somebody, and you're like warning people to stay away. I know people like that, and um, that's a good, skill to be able to hone and appreciate and use. And how are you using that skill? How are you using it to benefit yourself and to benefit others? Are we going to harp on something and continue to focus on the negative, or are we going to try to find the positive within a negative situation? I know that's not always possible, and I know it's not always easy, you know, um, but what it can do is it can just shift your mindset. In this last conference I went to a training or a session on holistic cancer treatments, and one of the things that was brought up was the placebo effect, and there were studies done on how the placebo effect ended up healing people, because when people that were diagnosed with cancer, and I could be repeating this or remembering this wrong, but the gist of this, and I believe it was cancer, was that they, were in a trial or a study, and the people given the placebo is the non-drug. It should be, either saline or, like a sugar pill. But they believed that they had the medication, and they believed that they would get better with this medication. And they did, despite not being on the medication at all, right? The placebo effect, their belief and their positive self-talk and awareness about the situation is what promoted their healing, not the medication in that example. Does that always happen? I'm sure it doesn't. But your positive belief and your positive thoughts about a situation, about yourself, about the world around you can affect, you know, the way you feel about it, the way you behave around it. And ultimately, we see that it affects the cells in your body. Okay. The cells in your body are affected by the way that you think. So if you are constantly negative and, poor me, well, I suck, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, all those things that we believe because of our life experiences and the things that happen to us and the things we've witnessed. If we start to really believe those things, and that's the thing going on in the back of our head whenever something happens, you know, we just reinforce that belief every time we, experience those negative emotions that go along with those thoughts. And it makes those neural connections that are happening even stronger, and stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's why it is so hard to overcome some of these negative thoughts that we have, is because they become so ingrained in us. Because day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, we believe those things to be true. And then when we see something happen, or, something is said to us, we experience something, that thought is, that neural connection in there related to, let's say, I'm not good enough, is connected to those events and those things people say to us and the things that are happening. And it reinforces that belief for us, whether it's true or not. So, like, when I say we see this in nature, it's that, we see that plants thrive and grow from research, that when we do good things with them, when we take care of them, when we talk to them, if we took care of ourselves, if we take care of ourselves like we take care of plants, and our animals and our pets and things like that, we may be doing better as well. So when we think negatively, we feel negatively, it affects our cells. That can lead to, things like autoimmune disease and cancer, because negative thoughts are like the cancer of our mind. They infest us, and they bother us, and they dig down and burrow down deep into us, and they won't let go unless we train our brain to stop doing that. And that is a day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year practice that you have to do. And setting up strategies to help you do that is, helpful. And maybe also removing negative things. If it's, I need to get off social media, I need to stop watching the news, I need to find people that I could hang out with and be around that are more positive in my life than maybe people who are constantly negative around me. If it's doing some kind of gratitude journaling or journaling, some kind of something positive. I always suggest writing a few things down at the end of the day or in the beginning of the next day, hopes for the day or things that had happened in the last day, right? Those 3 positive things that you noticed, whatever they were. And then in the morning, you go back and read those things and you're setting yourself up for those things throughout the rest of your day, versus, "Oh, today's going to suck." Well, yeah, today probably is going to suck because that's your mindset about the day. So if we can change our mindset about things, you can change the way you feel, not only emotionally, but physically. So it was a short and sweet little session today, but I just wanted to share that, something that, kind of came up while I was driving to and from different things this morning. And I thought it was something you should know. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again next week.